Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. I'll be talking about organization data types and pivot tables from Power BI in this session. Before diving into the content, let me tell you a bit about myself. I am David, a product manager on the Excel team focusing on data and BI scenarios. Before joining the Excel team, I was living and breathing Excel in management consulting and service supply chain planning. So being a product manager for Excel is merging that engineering background and the product experience into my current role. You can find me on LinkedIn if you want to connect. Enough about myself. Let's dive into the content. As you may know, Excel is a go-to tool that we use for making decisions, for understanding and visualizing data. It is broadly used today by more than 500 million devices worldwide. We also have Power BI, which is a best-in-class tool and service for enterprise and self-service BI. Not only is it about beautiful visualizations, which of course Power BI has, but also about connecting to the data from multiple sources, about the governance of that data, and the scalability of the processes and infrastructure to empower all the people and organizations to use that data and have those insights to be a more data-driven organization. The history between Excel and Power BI goes way back, even before Power BI was a standalone product. Much is shared across the Microsoft BI solutions. And for instance, Power Query and the data model are the same experiences and technologies across Excel and Power BI. We're also building on existing integrations, like Publish to Power BI from Excel and Analyzing Excel that you could open from your Power BI reports. Now, our goal with these integrations is to provide enterprise users with the best data that is easy to discover, easy to access, and where you have all the governance and security from Power BI, while using the tool that you prefer. Excel users often tell us how much they love the flexibility of the grid for all those ad hoc analysis outside of reports or dashboards that you publish for the broader organization. For these and other integrations, we're working with the Power BI team to get the best connection between enterprise data and the flexibility of Excel. These are the two features that I'll be talking about today and that we've been introducing over the past few months. First, pivot tables from Power BI, and second, organization data types from Power BI. And I'll go into the details for both. Starting with pivot tables, you can now create from Excel a pivot table connected to a Power BI dataset. Until now, if you wanted to have a pivot table connected to Power BI, you had to start in Power BI and choose Analyze in Excel. This creates a file with an OLAP connection that Excel uses to connect to the Power BI service and get your latest information. Now, we're bringing this capability directly to Excel. So if you're starting in Excel with the grid from scratch and you just want to bring your data, you can do so now. This connection leverages the same capabilities present in Power BI, such as row-level security and the Microsoft Information Protection, and of course, all the security and governance of Power BI directly in Excel. Let me jump into the product and show you what this looks like. Here I'm in Excel. You can find this feature under the Insert tab in Insert Pivot Table. You can here see from Power BI. This also shows up in Data, Get Data from Power BI. So when I click either of those two entry points, I get this pane that lists all the data sets that I have available in my organization and where I already have access and permissions to these data sets. This is in my Contoso demo tenant, and here the user Megan Bowen has all these different data sets available. We also pull the certification labels and promoted labels. If you're familiar with Power BI, these are the stamps of approval that Power BI admins in your organization can give to different data sets, so we prioritize those. But we also bring the ones that are published by end users in the self-service workflow. Once I choose the dataset, this creates a connection to Power BI, using again the credentials that I'm logged in into Excel. Here you can see this policy tip that showed up. Your organization automatically applied the sensitivity label. These labels are part of the Microsoft Information Protection System, where we can label the content in Office files or in Power BI datasets, and this flows across the apps. Depending on the label, they also set different policies for the file. So in the most restrictive of cases, this turns the file into an encrypted file and requires the user to be authenticated and to be within the valid list of people who can access the file. Once I'm in Excel, this is the pivot table experience as usual. Here you can see the different tables that are in the data. And now I can just drag and drop any of these into the pivot table to build my summary and analysis. One of the improvements that we're also doing with this experience is that now you can have measures defined in the client side. So you don't need to define a measure in Power BI. Before, the measure had to be defined in the data set, but now we can just do an implicit measure in the client side, as you're used to for pivot tables from the grid. So as we're working more and more on these different integrations, we're making sure that we're bringing the best experiences of both products that we have to offer. Something else we're really excited about is that this is also coming to Excel for the web. It may not be available just yet for you, but it's already coming, and you can use this experience in the browser directly, connecting to your datasets and interacting with them. This means that you can also have the experience in Excel files opened directly in Microsoft Teams, or opened as part of a Power BI published report. So this is really exciting because it opens many new scenarios. Additionally, we're also improving the performance for pivot tables connected to Power BI or connected pivot tables in general. This is already in production and was a huge optimization to the MDX query engine. So if you've been using Analyzing Excel, you may have already noticed that the pivot tables are now faster. Now, the second feature, and this is one that I've worked closely on, is organization data types. Here, you can think about it as looking up data from dimension tables into Excel, from tables that are published in Power BI. For the data types to show up in your Excel data types gallery, you first mark these in Power BI Desktop as feature tables, and that makes them flow through Excel to use them in this way. I'm going to show you a little bit more on how you can use them. This is a very flexible way to connect to data. You don't need to have that data inside a pivot table or in a connected Excel table. These are bits of information that you can spread in a flexible way in your spreadsheet and pull them in the grid in the way that you need. Like the previous integration I showed, this also supports row-level security, Microsoft Information Protection, and permissions and access control from Power BI, and is available across Windows, Mac, and the web. With that, let me go again to Excel. In this first example, I have pulled a summary of different customer complaints that we have received, either through a CRM system or directly from email. I got them in Excel and I want to get a little bit more context on the customers, where they are, what their current total orders are, and maybe a way to contact them. I can select them, and instead of having to open a file or look in a separate enterprise system, I just come to the Data tab, and you can see in the Data Types gallery, you have this section from your organization. These are individual tables in a Power BI dataset that are available to my user. When I choose customers in this case, it goes and queries Power BI with the different values in each of the cells. And if it finds a match, it sends it back to Excel with the related information. You can now see this icon. It represents that this cell has a data type. And so by clicking it, you can get all the related information for this specific customer. If the data is in a table, like in this case, I can easily add the country the current orders total, and the telephone number so I can contact the customers. What's great is that because this information is coming from Power BI, I can easily refresh it, and if I need to check this back tomorrow, all I need to do is just refresh the information to get the latest one in my spreadsheet. You may have also noticed that as soon as I converted to data types, I got this business bar. Just like in pivot tables, it's telling me that the policy was applied to the file, inherited from the dataset in Power BI. This is a simple example, but the feature also allows me to use enterprise information in more flexible ways. Let's look at a little more elaborate example. Here, I have this invoice template where I can pull all the information directly from the data type so I can use the invoice information. And in this dropdown, if I choose a specific customer, all the contact information fields are pulled from this individual data type. I can do the same for product. So if I need to bring my unit price, I can convert the cells to product data type. And using Excel formulas, I can pull the unit price using dot notation. You can see here that a discount is applied. This is using conditional formatting that you can tie to the different Excel features that you know, such as data validation in this case. A second example here is tracking inventory for my products. If I have different criteria associated to them, such as units in stock, I can tie that to other parameters and see a summary. When I come back to check this again tomorrow, I can do refresh all and see the products that now need to be replenished. Finally, to close this section, this example is loosely inspired in a real-life experience from one of the customers that we've been closely working with. It's a whole solution for the product management to look at their products and their catalog and trigger updates based on Excel data types. What we heard from them is that this was a very quick and easy way to implement this solution without spending several months in developing a custom-built software solution. You can notice here, and I hadn't shown this before, that data types also support images in cells. So I can extract all of these to the grid. Same thing as before, I just use my dot notation and use them directly in the grid. That was the demo for data types. In terms of availability, these features are tailored for organizations, and so for using them, you require an Office 365 or Microsoft 365 subscription, as well as the Power BI service plan. We're in the middle of opening up the availability, so you will soon be available to access the features with a Power BI free license to connect to datasets in my workspace or hosted in Power BI premium capacity. I recently published a blog post about this change. Regarding the builds of Excel, and this is a little bit specific to enterprise, since if you're using Excel with a personal and family subscription, you just have a single channel. But in enterprise channel, there are different deployment cadences. So this is already available for current channel, monthly channel, and recently also became available in the semi-annual channel. As I mentioned, this is also coming for Excel for the web. And in the case of data types, it is already available for Mac as well as the web. With that, let me close by thanking you again for joining me and by sharing some of the places where you can find more information for organization data types and for pivot tables from Power BI. Of course, we would also love for you to join the Excel community and keep engaging with the product team of Microsoft. We're really excited to see you there and to continue the conversation.